This video is about oxidation reduction. The keyword in the question is oxidized. And the concept in this question is how to identify elements undergoing oxidation and reduction. Let's look at this reaction as an example. To determine which element is undergoing oxidation or reduction, we need to determine the oxidation state by drawing out a table like this. We go about filling out this table is that we have the individual charge and the total charge. So for example, oxygen, we know that has an individual charge of -2, but there's 3 of them, so the total charge would be -6. And the whole compound has the total charge of 0, so we know that iron must have the total charge of +6 to cancel out the negative charge of oxygen. And because there's 2 iron, the individual charge would be +3. It can be done for the rest of the elements, and we will have something that looks like this. Now we need to identify the elements that has a change in the oxidation state. So we can see that iron has an individual charge of +3 initially, and it changed to 0. And carbon has an individual charge of +2, and after the reaction, it changes to +4. A really easy way to remember is using this mnemonic, oil rig. So oil stands for oxidation is loss, and rig stands for reduction is gain. Loss and gain is referring to a transfer of electrons. Iron has a decrease in oxidation state, which means it is gaining electrons and therefore it is undergoing reduction. Whereas carbon has an increase of oxidation state, so it's losing electrons and it is undergoing oxidation. Going back to our question, we can draw out the same table for this equation as we did for the example. We can fill out our table like we did with the example, but for this question, we need to remember our polyatomic ions, so MH4, which has the charge of +1. So using that, we know that the whole compound has a charge of +1, and we know that hydrogen has a charge of +1 as well. So nitrogen needs a charge of -3. We can work out that the total charge of nitrogen is -6, and chromium has a total charge of +12 and individual charge of +6. We can see that the charge of nitrogen changes from -3 to 0, and chromium changes from +6 to +3. So if we look back at our mnemonic, we're looking for the element that is undergoing oxidation. And so there is a loss of electron and therefore an increase of oxidation state, and that is nitrogen. And so the answer is C.